What's good? What's good? Got another video for y'all boys, man. For the Emerald Thoughts channel, man. The spiritual guys, man. I ain't been on there in a minute like last time I said, but we're here. I had a response to Dr. Boyce Watkins and him saying the sooner or the better, the faster we get over the word and using the word nigga, the better. And my response was look up the etymology. It's a quick thing to look up. You look up the etymology of nigga, it used to be spelled N-G-A or N-E-G-U-S or N-A-G-A, and it was many different meanings for it, but the word is essentially had been around for the longest. And if you know that, it's hard for you to be like, well, let's get rid of the word, because you got to understand that word has an ancestral connection to us that's been here for millennia, for shit, hundreds and thousands of years. And it was being connected to us way before white people decided to turn it around and use it against us, essentially. So in my mind, when you say let's stop using that word, it furthermore disconnects us from our past. It furthermore disconnects us from our spiritual history. It furthermore disconnects us from our history, because essentially the Nagas was a serpent tribe, or just like Boyce, they believe in the cat god or whatever like that. We had certain figures that represented a certain energy that was vindicative of a god, essentially. Just like how Native Americans, you look at their totem pole, they got different animals, and the accumulation of those animals comes up with a message or a story, or like a picture speaks 1,000 words. Those different symbols will connected together creates a certain message and story, which is your totem pole. It reflects you and your energy and what people see on your energy. So it's no different. We was connected to these serpent energies and things like that. That I know people hear that shit, they're gonna start thinking Alex Jones and all that things, but it's nothing but talking about the Kundalini and talking about your spine and basically the spiritual process of how we become gods, or the spiritual process of this what we doing on this planet. So when you know those different things, it's like, or when you figure out that history, you understand that's directly connected to us. And when you look up the word Negus or Nagas, or even the word nigger, there used to be kings that were called niggers, and those kings the word nigger was referred to God. So if there were a nation of niggers, they would be called, that would be translation, a nation of gods. So and we've been knowing this for the longest, that we've been God's children, the chosen ones, and things like that, or at least a part of those tribes. And it's right in front of us. They call us a nigger, then they whitewash everything, and we be so confused because we thinking niggas mean ignorant and all these different things, but they literally calling us God in our face, or God's children in our face, even though they in other ways they hide it and take it away from us. But I feel like the word nigga, and this is the real reason I created this whole little thing, is because I feel like the word nigga is the same way they did everything with whitewashing. It's the same with Jesus. Back in the day, when Jesus was alive, or when Jesus was, the story of Jesus was, I don't even know how to say it, but let's just say back in the day when Jesus was alive, when the elders, the church leaders, the government figured out that he wasn't on their side, what did they do? They changed the narrative to make him seem bad. Same thing with nigga, the word nigga. They can't use the word for them. They hate everything about it. So what do? They changed it to make it the narrative and the idea around it to be bad. Now what do they do with Jesus? They rather whitewash it or whatever, because it's like, well, we want to also use this figure because he's powerful, but back in the day, even though we might have shitted on him, so now we're just gonna say he's white and repurpose it for many different reasons. There's a lot of reasons they repurpose it. I'm not about to get into the exact reason why they do that. There's a many reasons to do that. It's to obviously brainwash their own people, to downplay us. There's a many different reasons why they do that shit. But the reason I say that is just, it's no different. The reason we don't want to use the word nigga is because of the definition that white people have put behind it. Simple. The power that white people use to make that word bad, because historically for millions of years that word had been used for good. So white people take something, they repurpose it, they change it to discredit it or devalue it or disconnect it from people, because now people gonna be like, well, I don't want to fuck with that person, I don't want to use that energy, I don't want to tap into that shit. Just like what they tried to do back when Jesus was healing people. They tried to call him a lie, they tried to call him a fraud, they tried to call him all these different things to disconnect you from the idea of this person is godly, or this person is connected, or this person has a message, or this person is doing something that's just against the grain of what we normally be doing. It could be just as simple as that. It don't even have to be this person is a direct descendant of God. It's just the fact that he's fucking up our bottom line by telling the truth. So they'll rather repurpose or rebrand the truth instead of trying to rechange their systems to fit in line with the truth. And that's no different than the word nigga. Nigga had to go through the same problems and the same trauma just like black people, bro. Like, it's hilarious, though. It's like the same thing that's an embodiment of our spiritual Akashic records. Let's be real. Like, when you look up a word, what happens when you type it into the internet? It gives you, it's a keyword, right? And it gives you, what? Synonyms. It gives you antonyms. It gives you the history. It gives you the different ways that word might have been used, slang, all these different things, right? So when you look up a word, it has depending on how powerful that word is, it has a bunch of history tied to that word. Like, whether it's democracy, whether it's freedom, whether it's slave, there's many words you can look up, and then when you look that up, there's gonna be histories of times of events that's happened. There's gonna be all type of shit. So when you delete the word nigga from my history, I know the most last 50, 60 years of that word has been tragic, but even then, why would we want to get rid of that? Like, bro, we should never forget the era of nigger, or like when I say nigger, the hard ER, we should never forget that and how they tried to treat us like that. But at the end of the day, we also should remember, bro, like, this shit is connected even way beyond that. And when you do your research, when you look up the etymology, when you look up what these words have, how it's translated through time, like, bro, it comes with so much fucking history. And for somebody like Boyce Watkins, I don't know if you did this research or what, bro, but like I said, you gotta be a lot smarter than that, because you're a well-researched person, so I don't put it past you to do your research on this topic as well. So when you start having these conversations, especially a conversation that's been around for this long, it's a reason why these words stay around. There's a reason why this shit ain't left us. It's a reason why we was able to change that shit back into a powerful, we'll basically just take the word back. I mean, like, we changed it back into being something essentially powerful, or essentially us being able to use it however we want to use it. Because there's many ways you can say nigga, just like there's many ways you can call somebody a hoe or a bitch or something like that. Like, a woman can say bitch to another woman, and it's, oh, this my girl making a joke, or this my girl just saying some shit. Like, it just roll off the tongue. It doesn't fucking matter. Then a dude call a girl a bitch, it's a whole different energy. So we're able to reshape the word and use it for how we wanted to use it, which is appropriate. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, nigga had a bunch of different connotations that could be changed and kind of skewed, but they all was embodiment of, like, basically black people. So if you want to, like, when we see a white person skydiving, and we be like, that's white people shit, or mountain climbing, or fighting bulls or something, we be like, that's white people shit. Essentially, we got our own shit. It's nigga shit. That's nigga shit. It could be, and let's be real, we're not perfect. That could go from the embodiment of acting godly, acting on a level of, like, being fucking uber fucking talented, to being a fucking degenerate, bro. We have being a Crip or being fucking John Morant. It's no different. So when I hear the word a person say being a nigga, in my mind, that person could be acting like a god, or that nigga could be acting like a bitch. And that's what I say. It's the polarity of that word. And that word polarity is so motherfucking strong, and it spans so motherfucking deep. Let's stop acting like childs and children, and honestly move on, bro. Like, I don't know any young black dudes that get offended by a white person calling them nigga. Why? Because that shit's a joke now. Like, that, like, you could, like, obviously that person will be racist, we'll call him racist, but the effect that it has on me means fucking nothing. Absolutely fucking nothing. So when you think like that, along with, like I say, it having a deep polarity in how we want to use it, it still embodies us, because we're, as a black people, bro, we're not monolithic, and we can be great as fuck, or we can be some bums on the street that know how to dance. It's still nigga behavior. So in my mind, bro, it's no way in hell are we getting rid of that word, because it's connected to too much greatness, and it describes us perfectly. Because at this point, the different paradigms the word nigga have been through matches us perfectly. From the slave to a freedman to the Harriet Tubman people of the world that got away and ran. That's all nigga behavior. Cause let's be real, just like how a nigga not gonna put up with some shit and get gone, it'll be a nigga that kiss ass and tap dance on some Samuel L. Jackson shit on Django. It's all some nigga shit. Why? Because it's a part of different paradigms we've been through personally. Why? Because nigga, we had to go through shit where in survival either you flight or fight, or you fit in or get kicked out essentially. So a part of our history is us having to fit into things that we didn't have to do. And what did that create? Certain cooning behaviors. It also created certain rebels. And guess what? That's a part of our nigga history, bro. It's no way I'm letting somebody talk us out of this shit from now on. Like, I heard it. I got offended at one point. I almost decided to stop using it, but that's because I was thinking about it from the white perspective. Like, oh, white people are using. What about white people when they use the word in a song? Or what about when the history of how they used it against us is like, yeah, that's true, bro. But at this point, bro, I'm choosing to subscribe to a understanding that's way deeper and they don't got shit to do with. I mean, it don't have shit to do with white people. Yes, their history does have a little bit of white in it, like as far as like, oh yeah, they helped change the culture. They helped change this to being negative and all that. Yeah. But at the end of the day, I'm pretty sure that could be transcribed to anything. Like, there are certain events that happen to us, and you can say that was straight from another demographic, but whatever. That shit don't even matter. Because at the end of the day, the importance, how long this shit gonna be here, the fact that it ain't went away, ain't got shit to do with white people. And that's my overall point. So when I hear people trying to, like, stop talking about it, a lot of times it's coming from the white lens and being like, oh, we should move on from that. It's like, ain't nothing to move on from, bro. Ain't nothing to move on from. And my biggest thing to say this is why, because this same thing could have happened with Hebrews. The word Hebrew, they used to call y'all, they used to call us Jabos. Look up my favorite movie, The Revenant. They gave up like some of the keyest games. They called them Jibos, and they wasn't talking about the Native Americans. They was talking about the black slaves on that part, if I'm not mistaken. And they called them Jibos to change their name and to change their to rebrand their beautiful religion, rebrand their beautiful history to something that could be laughed at and mocked at and not taken seriously. They do the same thing with Asians. They don't call them Asians. They don't call them Chinese men. They call them Chinks. They call them Viet Cong. They call them these different. They re-up the name because it now opens up a lane for disrespect. Now it opens up the lane to be like to fuck over these people, because you can't even call him by his name. You can't even essentially look that culture in the eyes. When you call this by his name, the original name, that means you showing a certain level of respect. Just like with Muhammad Ali having this problem with calling him by the name that he wants to subscribe to the name that they feel like is purposeful for him. And that's like, even though that might have been his name, they was doing it out of disrespect and not out of like whatever. So that's the same thing they do with history in general. So if we're going to essentially do that with the word nigga, at any given point it could be done with anything, and at that point we are literally saying what white people say dictates how we should call ourselves and how we should move. And I'm not subscribing and I'm not moving like that by any means. So like I said, you can look up The Revenant, you can look up, I mean, that's just common knowledge. That's what they do. That's the game they play. That's the game they play. So like I said, I'm not changing it. I'm not moving on. Y'all do the history. Y'all do the research. I posted it on Twitter. It's my last tweet. So you look up the time this was posted. Look up you can go back and find it. But like I said, look up Negus. Look up the word Negus. Look up Naga. Look up I'm trying to think, NGA or NGR, which is NGR is the masculine version, and NGA means the woman. Like NGR is king and NGA is queen. What other ways can you spell it? I said Nagas, right? Nagas. Like, these are all different ways to pronounce that same word. And when you look up those different words, these are also different tribes and different groups of people that you're gonna get history from. I would advise you to look up into their spiritual beliefs and see what you can get from there and gather from there. But I need to get to work. Peace.